The national champion is clad in big orange.
The pitch. Swing and a miss. That's the ball game. The national champion is clad in big orange.
At Summit and Destiny have met 7 times before. Tonight is number 8.
Tennessee Volunteers have wrapped up an SEC outright regular season title. Connect with
the SEC runs through Rocky Top. Tennessee wins the SEC regular season crown for the 2nd consecutive season.
the 1-0. Indiana, right center field. Rock's on the move. Rock, get there. Tennessee walks it off. Simple step. Deep range. Come on now. And don't connect. Probably trying this time. Indeed. New hand jam. Down the middle. Got it. Zakai is high and again. And he's going to take it. Touchdown, Tennessee.
Hey, how much fun is this?
Man, Rocky Top. This is college football and it's absolute best.
This is college athletics at its absolute best. It's Sunday afternoon. It's 6 p.m. Eastern, which can only mean one thing, and that is another episode of the Fanatics Show. Man, what a week here on Rocky Top for the sports world. We got basketball, we got baseball, and softball. And Michael, my co-host, Skylar. Michael, how are we doing this week, brother?
Dude, this has been a fantastic week all the way around. In life, in sports, especially Tennessee sports, man, just been absolutely fantastic. How's your week been, man?
We're doing all right. I mean, I can't think of a better week of athletics for the University of Tennessee. We got a lot to talk about as we got Tennessee Football 247 already in the chat saying we beat A&M in 3 different sports. Let's go Vols. Is A&M our stepchild or... I don't know, dude. It's crazy.
Maybe.
See, Kentucky and A&M had no idea they were actually siblings. That's crazy. Anyways, welcome into the show, guys. If y'all are watching live, please leave a comment on whatever platform you're watching us on. Let us know you're here. If you got any questions, topics you want to get talking about, please just let us know. We'll get to it, man. We got a big rundown. Michael, how about you give us the rundown before I give us our presenting sponsor?
So today's rundown, we are going to start with the Lady Vols basketball team going 2-0 this week. Segment 2, we're going to talk about the men's basketball. Only have 1 game this week, so that should be a quick segment. But at the end of it, we're going to kind of look at the path to both the Vols and Lady Vols in the SEC tournament, what their seed will probably be, what we think it will be. And then lastly, segment 3, we're going to look at Alabama, Georgia, and Texas season recap for football. But before we get into all that, Skylar, will you give us our presenting show sponsor?
Yeah, you already know it. It is Chris Smith Insurance. You know, as a homeowner, Chris Smith was once let down by an insurance company. So he started his own agency where instead of feeling like a big company is fighting against you, you'll know that your agent is fighting for you. All insurance is not equal. Trust the Chris Smith Insurance Group today at 865-272-3387 right here in Oak Ridge. Again, Chris is not just the agent that's going to find you the best rate, but also the best coverage because, you know, when that time comes, you do have to file that claim. You want to make sure you're taken care of, and Chris is going to be there at your doorstep to make sure that he's with you from every step of the process because, you know, I don't really have a statistic on it, but usually if you have to file a claim, you've probably never done that before. So it's always nice to have a guy that you can trust and call at any moment to help you through that process. Chris, we appreciate your continued support here on the channel. And Michael, I think I'm going to turn it back over to you so we can get the segment 1 sponsor in, and then we can start talking Lady Vols. Man, they had a great week this week.
Yeah, they sure did. But our segment 1 sponsor, it is Optimal Asbestos Services. Optimal Asbestos Services offers detailed asbestos inspections and air quality assessments. Whether you're looking to secure your home or workplace, you can trust Optimal Asbestos Services to deliver thorough and reliable solutions. You can contact Jeff Mull at 865-223-3297 for your consultation today, or go on the web at optimalasbestosservices.com. So, Skylar, you mentioned it. it was a big week for Lady Vols.
It was.
And it started off with a rivalry game against Alabama.
Top 20 ranked Alabama. And this was a good game. This was a solid game. Very fun to watch. A little bit back and forth. But, I mean, for the most part, Lady Vols kind of did their thing. Very high scoring. But Talasia Cooper and Jewel Spear, man, Jewel Spear's been playing some good ball here lately. But overall, it's a big win. I believe you did this in Alabama, or was this a home game? This was a home game.
Yeah, this is a home game.
But to be able to beat the Tide top 20 ranked team at the time, they'll probably fall in this week's rankings thanks to the Lady Vols. But overall, man, shot it well. 47% field goal percentage. You were almost 40% from 3, 8 of 21. I think one of the better free throw percentage games of the season for the Lady Vols at 88.9. But overall, just the rebounds, I think, stood out to me more than anything. The second chance opportunities that the Lady Vols had in this game, they really dominated the boards and took it to Alabama. Yeah,
I mean, you stated the two things that stood out to me. The free throw numbers going 16 of 18. That is definitely their highest percentage of the season. And then out rebounding Alabama 44 to 30. That was just a big key in this game to they were down to start the first, I believe.
They were. They only scored 17 in the first. Slow starts here lately.
Yeah, 22 to 17 at the end of the first, but then outscoring Alabama 25 to 15 and 23 to 14 in the second and third quarters, respectively. Alabama did outscore you 29 to 23 in the fourth, but at that point, Tennessee had built a big enough lead that it was just too much for Alabama to come back from. But, you mentioned the second chance points. I've got the stat here. Tennessee, 17 second chance points compared to Alabama's 9. So you would have liked to have seen when you out-rebound Alabama as much as you did to have a few more second chance points than that. But still, you basically doubled them up on the second chance points, which, I mean, you can't complain about that anytime that happens.
Yeah, I mean, so – Alabama, man, you got to tip their cap. I mean, they came in, played really good ball. I think right here, just the lack of depth kind of hurt them. Fun fact, individual Carly Weathers, I think is her name.
Yep.
Yes. Yep. Fun fact, is a sibling of one Ryan Weathers, who played at Loretto and went straight to the MLB, which not the show. I think he's still maybe AA or something. I don't follow his career.
He's in the show.
He is Padres, right?
No, he's actually with the Marlins now.
Okay, so off-season move then. Yeah, right on. So that's pretty cool. My dad was like, "Hey, Weather's sister's playing for Alabama," and I was like, "Wait, what? No way!" So that was pretty cool to see her out there doing her thing.
You want to know an even crazier stat?
Yeah, what's up?
They have a cousin that is in the running for Miss Basketball at Loretto.
No kidding, man. Yeah. What a family! What a family! Athletic family. David, I think, would be proud. I think he is. Sure. So. But no, I thought that was pretty cool, and she didn't have a bad ball game. Look, the starters for Alabama kind of did their thing. Every single one of them in double digits. Yep. I think what got him here, and it really doesn't really show too well, because if you look at quarter by quarter, I mean, Alabama technically had a better fourth quarter, but I just feel like the depth is what hurt Alabama in this situation, being able to go hard for all four quarters, where the Lady Vols just had a couple really big quarters where they didn't score a lot, obviously 25, 23, 23 in the final three quarters, but they were able to play good defense there in the middle too. In the second and third quarter, they held Alabama to 15 and 14 points respectively. So Matt says, "Hey, Daddy Allen." Oh, yes, sir.
Appreciate it, Matt.
Go Vols, baby. Go Vols. Yeah, that's awesome, man, Matt. Thank you so much for tuning in. And yeah, man, Dad for the second week now. So how's that going?
That's right. Hey, it's going good, man.
You look alive, which is crazy.
He's actually sleeping really well. We're having to almost wake him up to be able to feed him. So
that's beautiful.
Fingers crossed that it stays that way. That he keeps sleeping well. But a big stat here. You mentioned the starters, all of them scored in double figures for Alabama. The bench points, Tennessee 25 bench points compared to Alabama 5.
Yep.
That's a huge stat there. Every single person that touched the floor for Tennessee in this game scored at least one basket, except Julian Hollingshed. And she really, I mean, she was a difference maker out there. It just didn't show up in the stat sheet. I mean, she only had one field goal attempt that she missed, 1 rebound, 2 assists. She did have 3 fouls, so got into a little bit of foul trouble, 2 turnovers on the night. But you had Alyssa Latham coming off the bench with 7, Tess Darby with 9. Kanaya Boyd, who has really shown up as of late. She has 6 points. Yeah, and Sarah Puckett with 3 off the bench. To go along with, I mean, the usual suspects. Talasha Cooper with 16, Z Spearman with 13, Samara Spencer with 9, Ruby Whitehorn with 5, a little bit of a down night for her.
Yep.
And then Jewel Spear, you mentioned it already, with 20 on the night. And it's good to see Jewel Spear coming around. 11 of 11 from the free throw line for Jewel Spear.
Yeah, a good night. I kind of like the Lady Vols team because I do feel like, as of late, it's kind of been a different person doing all the scoring for the Lady Vols. I mean, one night's Ruby Whitehorn, one night's Talasha Cooper, the next night's Jewel Spear. I kind of like that. You're not having to rely on that same person to have a big game every single game. Kind of like I feel like the men's is kind of that way. You know, if Chaz Lanier doesn't have that big night, watch out. We don't know if we're going to be winning or not. We're going to be fighting for our life. But overall, man, the Lady Vols, they shared the rock. Really, really good game. Showed Alabama who's boss. Kind of took over there in the third quarter. It kind of felt like it was going to get away from Alabama, but you got to credit Alabama for coming out punching hard in the fourth. I would like to see our defense kind of step up a little bit better there, but overall, man, I was super proud of the ladies getting it done. It was a big game considering the stretch that we had to finish out the season. This had a lot to do with the swing of if it was going to be a good finish of the year or not so great of a finish. So this was a massive win for the Lady Vols.
Yeah, this was great, and it's always good to beat Alabama as well on a Tennessee Thursday night.
That's
as
right.
they was playing DC Land Delight after that game. But any other thoughts on this Lady Vols versus Alabama game?
Yeah, I mean this was big, not just for the aspect of Alabama was a top 20 team, but also for the standings in the SEC. So, to be honest with you, Lady Vols are 20-6, I think, but they're dang near not even getting a bye in the SEC tournament. That's how strong the ladies are in the SEC right now. So this game, Alabama was ahead of you by a couple of games. But here you got a game closer, so you were able to make up a whole game in just one game against the lady, the Crimson Tide. And so, for the standings purposes, now I don't think a top 4 seed. I think the double bye in the SEC tournament is going to be a bit of a stretch here, but I think they can at least get a higher seed in the first bye, which is going to be clutch and key when it gets down to if you can make it to the weekend of the tournament. So I think it pays dividends.
Yeah, we'll discuss that a little bit in segment 2, as we're going to look at the men's and the women's to just kind of see the path to maybe getting a double bye, as both of them still have a chance to do so. But we'll move over to today's game as Lady Vols take on Florida in Gainesville. And Lady Vols came out on the right side of the scoreboard, but this game...
Oh, they were testing my patience in that first half, brother.
They sure were. It was not easy to watch at times. I mean, Florida outscored Tennessee 16-12 in the first, 21-16 in the second, a 9-point halftime deficit. But then the Lady Vols. How about this third quarter, man? 37 points scored in one quarter.
I mean, that you look like a top 10 team in the nation for that third quarter. I mean, that was amazing basketball. You were down by, I think, like 9.5. I mean, it was not looking pretty against a Florida team. Like, let's be honest, just not really that great of a season this far. I mean, sure, they've got some athletes, they've got some young talent for sure, but Lady Vols to have the games that they've had. I mean, think about it: 6 losses, and 5 of their 6 losses came against top 10 opponents. They've beaten the number 5 ranked team in UConn, and their only bad loss, I would say, is to Vanderbilt by 1 point, I believe. So to show up like they did against Florida, I think maybe not necessarily looking ahead, but maybe they just kind of thought this would be easy picking. They'll be able to do whatever they wanted to. Probably weren't locked in to start this game, but I'll tell you what, I got to credit the coaching staff and the players the way they came out at a halftime. That shows me that they are able to make those adjustments and maybe a tight game. And maybe they can see some things that they like on film, and they can go ahead and adjust that at halftime. They came out in that third quarter and was just rolling, man. I think in the first half they only hit 3 threes, and they came out in the second half, hit 7. They looked really good. I was very impressed. Now, wish they would have finished the game a little bit better than they did, but overall, they still came away with an 8-point victory.
Yeah, they did. I didn't get to watch all of this game. Had a meal after church today, so I was kind of checking the scoreboard a little bit on ESPN. Watched a little bit of the game in between church services, but yeah, this is a game where every single player for Tennessee that touched the floor did score the basketball.
Oh yeah,
and once again the bench points. That's the difference in the game. As Tennessee 28 bench points in this game to Florida's 5. It's insane when you can get that kind of production from your bench and the opposing team is not able to get that. And I think that third quarter, 37-20, like I said, didn't get to watch that third quarter much, but I think the defense really picked up. They finally wore down Florida a little bit, and it started hitting shots like Skylar said. I mean, you only had 3 at halftime from the 3-point line, end up with 10 total, knocked down 7 in the second half. Really just came alive in the second half of this game. But a key that I saw in the first half is Tennessee got into foul trouble. You had 5 total ladies on this team with 2 fouls apiece. Florida at halftime, I think, had already attempted like 18 free throws, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was ugly. Talasia Cooper, I mean, to your point, I think set almost nearly half, if not more than half, the first half, just because she picked up 2 fouls pretty early. So yeah, you're 100% spot on that. Another thing that kind of pointed out to me, like this game, they shot 10 threes, and it wasn't even like 3-point shooters that were getting it done. Jewel Spear only had 1. Sarah Puckett only had 1. Tess Darby only had 1 3. So they combined for 3 threes. You actually seen the threes coming from Alyssa Latham, who went 2 for 4 from deep. You had Samara Spencer 2 for 5, Talasia Cooper 2 for 7. Z Spearman actually hit 1 herself, but 1 for 5. I do feel like maybe some of us took a little bit too many shots, but I don't mind the 3-point shooters that are in there really just to shoot the 3, maybe getting some more shots. But overall, I think they shot a healthy amount, in 29. Florida, I think you kind of benefited a little bit. I think maybe defense played a role in it, but 2 of 17 from 3. Not a good night from Florida behind the arc. But I got to credit Florida's defense, man. I know they gave up 86 points. I think it was a bad third quarter, but that first half and really a lot of the fourth quarter, they kind of swarmed the Lady Vols, kind of like what you would like to see us to do to them. And we did get to that point at some point, in that game, especially third quarter. But Florida's defense probably looked better than they have most of the season. I thought they came out swinging. Obviously, they were trying to protect home court, but overall, the Lady Vols were able to persevere.
Yeah, I think the end of the broadcast of the game, because I caught the final 3 minutes of the game after church.
Yeah.
They were saying that for 75% of this game, Florida played their best game of the season. They played very well defensively, offensively, all the way around. But that third quarter, that's all it was. I mean, Tennessee in the third quarter nearly doubled up Florida, 37-20.
Yeah,
that's unheard of for one quarter of basketball. That's 10 minutes. You're almost scoring 4 points a minute.
And we know all too often what it's like to play really good 3 quarters and not play that fourth quarter, wherever that fourth, whether it's the first or the second, to play a complete game is something we've been begging all of our athletics to be able to do. Because it more times than not will bite you. And for the Gators in this game, I do think they outplayed the Lady Vols in 3 of the 4 quarters, but they just had such an abysmal third quarter that the Lady Vols took advantage of that. So, again, though, Talasia Cooper is your high scorer in this game. Z Spearman was 16. Overall, I believe that Sam Spencer was 11. You had 4 Lady Vols in double figs as Jewel Spear got 10. Oh, no, I'm sorry. You got 5. Ruby Whitehorn, who didn't start this game, got 10 off the bench. That's what you like to see. So Tess Darby got the start over Ruby Whitehorn, I believe. So, but overall, man, just another solid game to finish the week. And you went 2-0. I think the Lady Vols now have won 6 of the last 7. So they're on a roll here, and they got 2 more games to go. You wanna tell us about those 2 games? See how we can finish up the year strong.
Yeah, just one game this week. It's Thursday night. This is the big game. This is another rivalry game. You travel to Lexington to play against the number 14 ranked right now Kentucky Wildcats. I believe that they will drop in the polls this week. I know they played LSU today, and I think if I'm not mistaken, they dropped a game in the midweek. Let me get that pulled up real quick. Let's see. No, they beat Missouri on a Thursday night. They did lose to LSU today by 7. So they might stay around the same, but probably going to be a top 15 basketball team to play against Kentucky on Thursday. And then last game of the season, it will be next Monday night. So we won't talk about it this week. It'll be against Georgia. That'll be senior night. Lady Vols, as I mentioned earlier, we will talk about it at the very end of the men's basketball segment. They are sitting in sole possession of 8th place in the conference right now, but a lot of room still to move up from there.
Yeah, I mean, the Kentucky game Thursday another game in which Kentucky is sitting in the 4 spot right now alone. So, I mean, they're above you. This is a chance to make up yet another game on the competition. Now, I think mathematically they still have a shot at the 4 spot. I just don't think that's realistic. I think they're fighting for a 6 or a 7 spot, in the SEC. But what are your thoughts here? I mean, as you look at the standings and the schedule, what are you thinking here over the next 2 weeks?
I think that the 4 spot is going to be out of reach at this point. A lot of stuff has to happen. But I think that the 5 spot is very realistic.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, because you're sitting there at 8-6, and you've got a kind of a cluster right there. Oklahoma, Ole Miss, and Alabama all have 5 losses, but now Oklahoma and Ole Miss have 9 wins. They've played the same amount of games, I believe, as Tennessee, but Alabama is 1 game behind. They'll make that up here in the midweek, I believe, or maybe they just haven't played yet this weekend. But overall, I mean, it's going to be tight. Tiebreakers could be a factor in this. Now, if you're Tennessee, you just got the win over Alabama, so that's going to help you. If you have the same record as Alabama, you will get bumped up above them. So, no, we'll definitely we'll see how it all plays out. The SEC this year, both in the men's and the women's, is just insanely competitive. You've got Tennessee's in the 8 spot. You've got 10 lady basketball teams that are 19-9 or better on the season. That's how many teams do you think in the ladies is going to make the March Madness tournament? Is that what we're looking at?
It's going to be 10. Yeah, it'll be 10. At the absolute worst, I'm going to say 8.
Right on. I think 10. 19-9. They're 6-8 in the SEC. That's not bad. I mean, I like to and I'm talking about Mississippi State and Vanderbilt here. I don't think that's a bad record whatsoever. You got a bunch of teams that are around the 21-6 mark. I mean, Tennessee, Alabama, both 21-6. Ole Miss is 18-8, but they're 9-5 in the SEC. They've got some quality wins. And then Oklahoma is 21-6. Kentucky 21-5, and then the top 3: LSU, Texas, South Carolina, all really, really good. 27-2 LSU is, 26-2 is Texas, and 25-3 is South Carolina. South Carolina. They lost in the midweek. It was ugly, didn't they? Who did they lose to? But they got beaten badly. Do you know who I'm talking?
Oh, that was so that was last week. That was UConn.
Was it
this week?
No. UConn didn't beat South Carolina like that, did they?
Yeah, 87-58 last week.
Really? Oh yeah, they did. That was last week. I'm so sorry for bringing up late news, but wow. That just shows you, though, that Lady Vols can literally beat anybody, right? Because, I mean, we beat UConn. Now, obviously, that was a home game, but the way UConn beat South Carolina, man, that was not even competitive.
But yeah, I mean, looking at the picture here. So Kentucky, you mentioned, they're in sole possession of 4th place right now going in the conference tournament. Their last 2 games of the season are against Tennessee and South Carolina. That is a very real possibility of going 0-2, in which, as long as Tennessee beats Kentucky and Georgia, you've made up the 2 games right there. And you've got a tie with Kentucky at that point, in which you would hold the tiebreaker. Now, I mentioned last week Oklahoma, who is ahead of Tennessee by a full game right now, and would hold the tiebreaker over Tennessee. They've got Florida and Alabama. I'm going to say that Florida game will probably be a win. And even if they lose to Alabama, I think that would put Oklahoma.
So Oklahoma's going to hold the 4 spot then.
I think Oklahoma
if that's
will
how it plays out.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But then Ole Miss, who is ahead of Tennessee by a game right now, they finish off with South Carolina and LSU. That's probably going to be 0-2 right there, in which you would jump Ole Miss at that point. You also have the tiebreaker over Ole Miss if it came down to that. And then, Alabama, you do hold the tiebreaker over them, and Alabama's last 2 games of the season. I'm sorry, 3 games, as they're playing Auburn right now, and they've got LSU and Oklahoma to finish off the season. So a very real possibility that Tennessee gets the 5 seed. It's gonna take Oklahoma going 0-2 at the end of the season to be able to get that 4 seed, and you have to win your last 2 games.
Yeah, right on. What did y'all think about the refs in the first quarter of this game? It was like 12-2 fouls against us. I try not to care about refs. I mean, if I'm being honest with you, and no matter what game I'm watching, like even in the men's, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, as unfair as it kind of seems and whatnot, like at the end of the day, there's just absolutely nothing you can do about it. So it makes no sense for me to make it a talking point in any of the. I don't know, Michael. What did you think about the refs? Did you think it was severely unfair or uncalled for? Like what are your thoughts?
That was one of those points. I didn't get to watch any of the first quarter. I watched
got you.
most of the second quarter, so I didn't really get to pay attention to that. I did see the foul shot discrepancy in the second quarter.
It was pretty absurd, but yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you're gonna get decent refs at times. You're gonna get some terrible refs at times, but ultimately, you just got to play the game. You can only play and do what you can control out there.
Here's what I'll say about it, though. Matt comes back in. We appreciate you watching, Matt. We really do. Kentucky is big. Will be a tough one. It will be a tough one. Kentucky's a solid group. What I will say though is like I would like to see our ladies do a little bit better about controlling our emotions about the refs. Like if clearly they're calling against you, and even if it's super unfair, like just drop it. Don't let it affect how you're playing. I don't want to see you sitting there clapping at the refs or getting a technical or anything, trying to argue back and forth. Like there's no room for that. Like shrug your shoulders, whatever, and then put your head down and get back to the game. Like there's no reason to sit there and cry about it. Really, like in my opinion, that's just I think in any sport that doesn't necessarily, unless you're Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers, I don't think that really gives you any benefit to sit there and argue with the referees about some calls that are being made.
Well, don't forget about LeBron James. He's the king of complaining to the refs.
Just don't watch NBA, man. I'm sorry. Other than Dalton Connect, Dalton Connect. But yeah, man, it just I like to see the ladies. I do feel like I've seen the ladies kind of sit there and that you can see them wearing their emotions about the calls and some of the games that I went in person to watch. I wish we kind of lowered that down a little bit, and I think Kim Caldwell's doing a great job of that.
Yeah, so I completely agree with you. But any last thoughts on the Lady Vols before we move ahead to the men's?
No, man, went to it. Yeah,
yep,
2-0 this week. Great week. Let's finish the season strong. I'd love to see us finish out strong. If we win out, I am totally okay with, because I mean I don't think we're winning the SEC tournament, but I'd like for us to win out and then maybe drop one in the second game of the SEC tournament or third, whatever.
What I will say, which we discussed at the beginning of the season, I don't want to be any team facing Tennessee on a short turnaround like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you said it earlier. Tennessee is a tournament team, the way that they're built.
Yeah.
Like, having
and the depth
and
what, yeah, dude. That's what I'm saying. Like, they're not going to get wore out whatsoever. But I'm taking the orange glasses off, being a realist. I don't think we're winning the SEC tournament. So I'm already preparing to lose, in a couple weeks. So I'd like to finish this season out strong. Because it's all about getting hot at the right moment. But I do think it's good to lose right before the big tournament, because then you still have that taste in your mouth. Like you know what it's like to lose at that point. Summit said it best. I hate losing more than I like winning, and so it's one of those things where I think you utilize the final week of the season here, final 2 weeks of the season. Ended on a high note, go into the tournament, maybe win a game or two, and then get your head right, get yourself a week's rest before you get in the big dance.
Yep, absolutely, man.
The 3 seed is still open, by the way, for the Lady Vols.
Oh yeah, for the national tournament.
The 3 seed,
yes.
The 3 seed, especially if you win out, is 100. I don't see how it's debatable. I mean, I would almost consider a 2 seed at that point, but. Lower expect. I think a 3 seed is 100% still on the table. So
yeah, I think a 2 seed is just a little bit out of reach, but a 3 seed, I think to get a 2 seed, you have to win out, and you've got to win the conference tournament. But
I think the championship game. Yeah,
I think a 3 seed that's what your goals should be right now. I think you've got a 4 seed locked up as long as you just absolutely don't crap the bed. But a 3 seed, I think that is very attainable at this point.
Right on. Congratulations, ladies.
Yeah, absolutely. And you want to give us our segment 2 sponsor?
Oh, shoot. You almost caught me off guard. Our segment 2 is sponsored by P&L Business Services. We know firsthand that getting your monthly reporting, invoicing, bill pay, taxes, and other essential business services right is critical. That's why at P&L Business Services, we go beyond bookkeeping by providing you with everything you need in your back office so you can have your time back and the peace of mind to do what you love most, which is building your business. To reach out to them, again, in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, just simply go online to pnlbusinessservices.com. Thank you for your continued support. All right. So we're going to talk about the men's in segment 2, and solid week. Obviously didn't have the midweek, but you played A&M yesterday at A&M, and a game that was
It was the Chaz Lanier show in the first half, man.
it was well, but even they started slow. I think we were down by 9 early, and then Chaz Lanier, welcome to the show, big guy. Dropped 6 of 7 from 3-point land in the first half, I believe. He was lighting it up, and then the dunk that he did with the left hand was just electric.
That was the most exciting shot that he made in the entire first half. Because how long have we talked this year about how we wish he would go aggressive to the rim?
Yeah,
I mean, there's been times, like, for instance, the one like bitter spot in our mouth still, that Vanderbilt game where he took it soft to the rim and ended up getting it blocked
and then
on an easy layup. We just want to see him go strong to the rim, and he did on that one. And you mentioned it, going up with the left hand as well. That was the most exciting point of the game for me, was seeing him take it to the hoop like that and just power it down with the left hand.
This was a big win. One, Chaz Lanier, 30 points. That can't be understated. Hit 8 threes, which, by the way, ties a program record for made threes in an SEC game, I believe. That's huge. And I was kind of like questioning that. I'm like, what? DK 100%, but no, DK was aggressive and would go to the rim a lot. So that's how he got a lot of his points. It wasn't necessarily just from 3-point land. And Dalton Connect, by the way, a mid-range shooter, was almost automatic. So that's understandable, but no, eight threes made. Chaz Lanier, Zakai Ziegler really didn't have the best first half. Now, I tell you what I thought was going to lose us the game is Igor Milicic getting into foul trouble the way he did, man. It was couldn't even play really any of the game. He only had 5 points.
He only played 19 minutes in the game.
Yeah, I thought that was that's your next best scorer, in my opinion, is Igor. And so him being out as much as he was, Jordan Gainey stepped up though.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, 14 points off the bench, but that's what you need from a guy like Jordan Gainey. How many times have I told you when Jordan Gainey doesn't get double-digit points, this team loses? But in this case, Igor didn't. Jordan Gainey did. And, I mean, I'd be remiss to not talk about Zakai Ziegler's
nail in the coffin.
Dagger of a 3 and the way he flexed after he shot that to the bench. That was a beautiful thing to see. I love that he did it. And the announcers were sitting there like, wow, why did he shoot it? It didn't. Well, I like that, though. He made it, because, 100% if he misses that shot, the announcers are giving him crap. But the fact that he made it, those announcers were like, man, he still had time for another pass. But look, they knew it. They knew A&M's defense was lights out this game. I'll be honest with you. That was probably the best look you were going to get in that moment in time. You hit it. At that point, made A&M super desperate. I think it was like 18 seconds to go at the point. And, you made your free throws there late. I'm not going to say, well, yeah, you did. It's 18-20. Another, I think, season high for free throw percentages for the men's, 90%. Overall, just a really good, it was a very entertaining game to watch. I'll be 100% honest with you. This was awesome. Look, Vols covered. They hit the over. I was a happy man.
Yeah, that's the absolute truth there. And, the thing that cannot be overstated about that Zakai Ziegler made 3-pointer there is the swing difference right there. I mean, you're up by 3 at the moment. If you miss that, A&M's they're coming back down the court with a chance to either trail by 1 or tie the game.
Yeah.
And you knock it down, go up by 6, you force them to have to take a 3, in which Tennessee gets the rebound. They foul Chaz Lanier, and he knocks down 2 free throws to extend it out to 8. And that was all she wrote at that point.
Yeah, I love the fact that, and at one point when you want to talk about refs in this game, this was getting crazy. I mean, it was like every possession, if all you did was went to the basket, you were getting fouled, 100%. And so Zakai Ziegler recognized that. And in the final 7-8 minutes of this game, he kind of took over. I mean, he would drive to the basket, get a foul. The second half of this game took forever. It was, you get free throws. And it kind of went back and forth there. But both teams, credit to them, they kind of learned from that. They were taking it, to their advantage. But no, overall, man, I loved one thing I'll hate from this game, and it has nothing to do with the game itself. It was the halftime. It was the halftime announcers pissed me off. Chaz Lanier goes 6 of 7 from 3-point land. And all ESPN can do is not give the man his moment. No, they want to sit there and talk about how Chaz Lanier, there's no way he can do that in the second half. And when I heard them say that, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, this dude just had the best half of basketball I think you could really ever ask of a player. And you're going to spend the time sitting there saying the math, the math doesn't make, like, there's no way you can keep this up for 40 minutes, not 60 minutes. But, like, even if you can't, you don't squander the moment like that. Like, that kind of pissed me off. I think ESPN, obviously, they do everything to piss you off. But I thought that was pretty low down of them. I thought they kind of shadowed his moment there a little bit at halftime. But overall, he still hit maybe 2 of 8 from 3 in the second half or something like that. I don't know. But overall, I mean, he still had a monster of a game. He's getting the praise he needs.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of guilty of that as well. I mean, I was loving everything that he did in that first half, and I was reveling in it at halftime. But I also went and I posted on Twitter on halftime, and I said, halftime thoughts. Somebody else has got to step up because A&M will not allow Chaz Lanier to do exactly what he just did in that second half. And sure enough, that's what happened. I mean, 22 first half points. He only had 8 in the second half. 2 of 6 in the second half, I believe, from the 3-point line after going 6 of 7 in the first half. But you got what you needed from Jordan Gainey, from Zakai Ziegler stepping up in that game.
Those are the two that stepped up. I mean, Gainey hitting the 2 back-to-back threes was massive.
I mean, Gainey was 2 for 5 from the 3-point line in this game, but the 2 threes that he hit were huge.
Yeah, and the time that he hit them was, I mean, those you talking about, like, dagger of a moments like Zakai's was. I mean, those back-to-back threes that Gainey hit, it was like every time A&M got within possession, Gainey would come out and put him up by 3 more, made it a 2 or 3 possession game. So yeah, I mean, the timing of which Gainey hit those threes were massive, especially in a game where you didn't know who you were going to get the 3 ball from. Igor obviously not playing his best game. I mean, he was in foul trouble the entire game. So I mean, that's your next best 3-point shooter. So it was huge to see Gainey step up in the way he did that game.
But the biggest thing that stands out to me as far as the stat book goes, though, it is the 3-pointers. I mean, Tennessee shooting almost 50% from the 3-point line in this game. Obviously, Chaz Lanier hitting 8 of those.
It's a little bit deceiving considering Chaz Lanier, but crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
But then Texas A&M shot 5 of 30 from the 3-point line.
At home, bro. At their home court. That's unheard of. Usually, home team doesn't shoot that bad from 3.
I think I heard a stat today, and I might have misheard it, but I think the last 2 games that Tennessee and Texas A&M have faced off, A&M has shot a total of 12 for 58 from the 3-point line.
But let me tell you a stat that's even further than that. I mean, obviously, abysmal night shooting from 3. It was Wade Taylor. Wade Taylor going 0 for 9.
Yes.
That is their guy. That is their guy. And him going 0 for 9, that was a mess. I think Tennessee played great defense, but I think that had a lot to do with the win here. Solomon Washington going 0 for 4. So both of those guys going combined 0 for 13. And that's 2 of their starters of the game.
Yeah, so let me take that one step further for Wade Taylor. He was 4 of 15 from the field.
Yeah.
He got most of his points from the foul line, going 10 of 12 from the free throw line in the game.
Yep. That's crazy. The kid had 18 points on 4 made baskets.
Yeah.
That is wild, man. I mean, but Solomon Washington and then I think it's Zurich Phelps. Dude was 1 of 7. So, I mean, that's a lot of the 3-point woes right there is when you're, what is that? A combined 1 of 20? 1 of 20 combined from 3 of their starters at 3-point land. That's pretty rough. That's pretty rough for A&M. But no, I credit Tennessee, man. We talk about road woes here all the time. They got it done on the road. Can't take that away from them. They went in there, punched them in the mouth, and came up on top. That was huge. And congrats to the men's right there. That was a big game, huge game.
Yeah. So, question that I have for you, which was it was in the title here. Is Zakai Ziegler being overlooked for National Player of the Year? Now let me kind of let me show my work here. Do I think that Zakai Ziegler should be the National Player of the Year? Absolutely not. I mean, what some other people have done this year, like Cooper Flagg, like Janai Broome, like him or not, Janai Broome, he should absolutely be in that conversation. And those are the 2 that it's going to come down to. But when you look at what Zakai means to his team and really his stats on the season, should he be getting more love towards that National Player of the Year mark?
I mean, so I'm looking at it now. You can't. I don't think you can really punish or reward a player just based on what team he's on. I mean, at the end of the day, it's an individual award, right? So,
Yep.
Because if you were doing it that way, then DK should 100% won last year, because what he meant to Tennessee last year was leaps and bounds, I think, more than what Zach Edey. Well, maybe not, because Zach Edey absolutely just taller than everybody and scored 70 points a game because all he hit was layups. But I'm looking at it. I mean, he's not far off of averaging a double-double, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's averaging on the plus side of 7 assists a game, almost 8 assists a game. And he's averaging 13.5 points a game. Field goal percentage, 40%. I think he's one of the best to ever do it. I think he's one of the best in the SEC. But I know for a fact there's players out there putting up so much more points per game that I think it kind of balances out what he's doing offensively and as a whole. Because, Zakai Ziegler, not necessarily your best scorer, but like you mentioned, he means so much to the team because of the way he's able to create those offensive possessions and get those assists, get guys open the way I think he is 100% the MVP of this team. I don't know if he's being overlooked. I'm just being a realist here. I think there are better all around players than Zakai Ziegler. And I hate to say that. I don't want this to get like clipped up, or I don't know. Like, it's no disrespect. I think he's one of the best. And I think his jersey is going to get hung in the rafters like 100%. Yeah. I don't think that maybe National Player of the Year is valid. I think he should be in the conversation. I mean,
no, and I guess that's where I'm getting at. I think he should at least be in the conversation. Do I think he should win it? No, there's obviously better players. I mentioned 2 of them: Cooper Flagg, Janai Broome. There's others that are better. Honestly, as an all-around offensive player, Chaz Lanier is better. And I think, all right, if you took Chaz Lanier's 18 points a game that he's averaging and put that on Zakai's numbers to go with that 7.5 assists a game, absolutely, Zakai Ziegler should be discussed as one of the National Players of the Year.
Yeah.
But, you mentioned it. There's better all-around players. And not only is Zakai good on offense, but he definitely should be in the conversation for National Defensive Player of the Year for what he does. I mean, he averages 2 steals per game.
But not over Jahmai Mashack, right?
I completely agree with that. Jahmai Mashack should be National Defensive Player of the Year.
So, I mean, I get it. Like, Zakai, I'm not taking anything away from Zakai. I think that's a little bit – I think he should be in the conversation. I don't think he is. And maybe because I don't think he is the National Player of the Year, then maybe he shouldn't be in the conversation. I don't know. But I do think, and maybe your point here is he
deserves more credit than what he's getting.
Yeah, and without him on the team this year, Tennessee is not. I mean, Tennessee's not anywhere close, in my opinion, to where they are right now without Zakai Ziegler. And I would say that about maybe 2 or 3 of the players on the team right now. So,
but none bigger than Zakai Ziegler. I mean,
100%.
The one game that they won on the court without him, it was because of them rallying around him not being there.
Well, it's because you had complete
player on the team stepped up.
I was going to say, you had a complete game, though. Like, you had Jordan Gainey getting double digits. You had Igor scoring double digits. Chaz Lanier scoring 20+. You had a complete game. You had, Akpara getting an 8 to 10 points when he was out. I mean, you had a complete game from the team. And I wish they would play like that with him on the court. And I think they'll get there. And look, Zakai Ziegler was the first to say it after this game. We still haven't played our best game. Like, he 100% believes that. And so, I would like for him to not say that when we're, 3 or 4 games away from the end of the season. But at the end of the day, that kind of excites me going into tournament play. This team's scary. I'll be honest with you. This team is scary. I feel like this could be a 1 to 2 round bounce season, or it could be a hell of a run to the Final Four. I think it could literally go either way.
I completely agree with you. Looking ahead, Tennessee, they've got 4 games left on the schedule. You've got LSU on Tuesday night, travel to Baton Rouge. Not going to be an easy game, but you're definitely a better team than LSU. You should get a win in that one. You got a big game Saturday, as it is the Alabama game. You do get this one at home. I don't know if game day will be there. I'm not sure where they're going to be, but that's got to definitely be a conversation as to where game day should go for that
Alabama game is going to have a lot on the line. I mean, we're talking double bye in the tournament. We're talking number 1 seed type implications here for that Alabama game. It could be the biggest game of the year for Tennessee.
I think you could be right. So you got next week at Ole Miss. That's going to be a big game as well. And then you finish off against South Carolina, who, credit to them, picked up their first SEC victory of the season last night
Over
against
LSU?
Texas.
Oh, was it? Yeah, you're right. Over Texas. What the hell?
Yeah.
But
Looking at the SEC standings right now, Tennessee, after yesterday, of course, you got the head-to-head win over A&M. You're now in a three-way tie for fourth and hold the tiebreaker over both of those teams, Texas A&M and Missouri. You're all sitting at 9-5 in the conference, and you've got head-to-head wins against both of them. The teams ahead of you, Alabama, you still have left to play. You can make up a game there. Florida, I believe Florida is probably in sole possession of second place. Let me look at their schedule. They don't
now
have
because you go 1-1 against them, and we won the second meeting. Would we not hold? I mean, I don't think it's possible that Florida would lose as much. But if we were to get tied with them, would we jump them?
It would. I think at that point it would go based off of common opponents. I'm not sure if it would be.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it would be higher seeded opponents or the lower seeded opponents.
Well, Florida beating Auburn would have them.
Yeah, that would probably have them ahead of us.
Yeah.
Let's see. Florida's finished to the season. You go to Georgia this week. You got A&M on Saturday. Do get that one at home. Travel to Alabama next week, and then you get Ole Miss at home to finish.
They don't have an easy final three games either.
They don't.
They got
Alabama's got the worst one.
They got to play Alabama, A&M, and Ole Miss. That's three of your top six in the SEC. That's or seven.
Yeah.
That's not an easy final three.
No, Alabama's got the worst road. Though.
Wait. Who do they play next?
You talking about Florida? They play. I got to go back to it.
I can look at
it. Florida plays Georgia next.
Georgia, okay. Yeah. I thought when you said that it was a cupcake and then three tough games to finish the year.
Listen to Alabama's.
No, Alabama's brutal, and in fact, they were about to be reeling, but they rallied to beat. Was it Kentucky?
Yeah,
Kentucky started strong in that game, and credit to Alabama for coming back. But they were about to be losing 3 in a row. But yeah, go ahead. How do they finish?
So the end of their season, they play at home against Mississippi State on. I believe that's
top 25 matchup.
Let's see. I believe that's Tuesday night. It might be Wednesday night. Top 25 matchup, and that will not be easy. Let's see. That's Tuesday night. Mississippi State is a tough team. You go on the road to Tennessee Saturday. Then you play number 2 Florida next Wednesday.
And we all know who they end the game with.
And you travel to Auburn to finish off the season.
No. Okay, so that's just the Final Four, but we're not going to talk about how they started this run against Auburn. So really, from Auburn to Auburn, this is their season, right? They played Auburn, then they played 15th-ranked Missouri, then they played 17th-ranked Kentucky, and then they're playing number 21, number 6, number 2, number 1, and Tennessee might actually jump up a little bit in the next week's rank.
Does this look similar to Tennessee's start to the SEC slate?
I would say similar. I think it's a little bit more harsh, but I think
it definitely is.
But I think overall they've had an easier schedule up until then. Obviously, it's going to it's going to equal out. But I'm looking here. They played Texas, Arkansas, Georgia. Arkansas, you could argue, is a decent team. They played LSU, Vanderbilt, solid team. They scored 100 on them. But then they played, let's see, Kentucky, Ole Miss, South Carolina, A&M, Oklahoma. So, I mean, I think you're going to learn a lot about Alabama here in this final 2 weeks. So, I think they're a solid team, but I know they've not had a gauntlet like this the entire year. And you've seen they've started out 1-2 in the first 3 of their gauntlet, and they still got 4 to go. And I think they should beat Mississippi State, but you get Alabama and Mark Sears is not clicking. I think anybody could beat them.
I completely agree with you.
I think anybody could beat them, but Mark Sears is not clicking. But when Mark Sears is clicking, this team could beat anybody. So it's we'll see, man. I think for Tennessee's sake, I want them to be competitive. I think. But then again, I don't think I really care. I think all the dominoes are going to kind of eliminate each other. Obviously, number 1 seed's gone. There's no way you get the number 1 seed.
Actually, no.
Mathematically, it's not gone technically because you're 4 games behind. So yes, I see what you're saying.
Well, all right, I take it back. if Auburn was to go 0-4 in this Final Four stretch, which they could, Auburn would hold the tiebreaker over you. So, yes, number one is eliminated.
Yeah.
You can get number two, but all right, Auburn could absolutely go 0-4 in this Final Four stretch. I don't think they will, but their Final Four games, you play against Ole Miss at home on a Wednesday night.
They have just as hard of a Final Four. You're right. I'm looking at it.
You travel to Kentucky on Saturday. That's a noon game, by the way.
Kentucky is the dumb team that could beat an Auburn team. Not necessarily that they're good enough to beat them, but like they are an offensive driven team. And
Kentucky at their best can beat anybody. But the thing is, a lot of times you get Kentucky that's in the middle.
Unless they're playing Tennessee.
That's very true.
All right.
Anyway, Kentucky on Saturday. Next Tuesday, they travel to College Station to play A&M.
A&M's solid team.
And then you finish off the season at home against Alabama.
And you got to know A&M ain't going to do 5 of 30 from 3-point land against anybody else. I mean, I think Tennessee got a little bit lucky there, but I think you got to credit the defense too. I think A&M could look. Auburn and Alabama have a final stretch like that. That is insane. And that's two of your top three. I think Florida could look at the end of this year and actually be sitting at the top spot. I think that Florida Alabama game is going to be massive implications for the top spot in the SEC.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Auburn, I want to talk about Auburn just real quick.
Yep.
Because we've kind of already moved past the A&M thing, and we're already talking about the final, standings and whatnot. But Auburn, is that not the weirdest team? Like, undoubtedly number one. But do you not feel like they constantly play up and down to their level of competition, and yet somehow they flirt with their food or whatnot, and they just barely win? I feel like that's going to cost them at some point. Could it be here in the Final Four games?
I think that it probably will. But, good teams find a way to win. And I think I mentioned it last week, or maybe it was after Tennessee played against Auburn. Does Jani Broome not look like the most nonchalant, I could care less player out there whenever he's actually playing?
I don't like Jani Broome. I think he does great on the court, but every bucket he makes, that's like the most basic bucket ever. He'll look at his competition like, you're not supposed to be here. Like, I'm way better than you. Like, he's so cocky on the court. Now,
yeah,
obviously he's backing it up, but I think at some point you got to also respect your competitors, and I feel like he has zero respect for his competitors. So it's hard for me to compliment or talk about his game when I feel like he honestly could care less about anybody he plays against.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at. He is very cocky, but also, when he's out there, it never looks like he's giving his full effort. Like,
and he limps all the time. Bro limps nonstop. He makes a play, he's limping. Like, he's running down the court, he's limping. Like, I guess you're right. I mean, he doesn't look like he's trying, but I don't know. I wish, and I think a lot of that comes down to Bruce Pearl. It's come out that they're not practicing 100% during the week because of the gauntlet of the SEC and how much minutes he's demanding of his players. That they came out. I remember the reporter saying that they don't practice 100% in the midweek. They kind of do walkthroughs, they strategic game planning and whatnot, rather than full on practice. So I think maybe that's kind of rubbing off on them, and I hope it does. Honestly, I think Auburn is doing what they need to do, but I don't view them as like the best team in the country. I feel like they are beatable. It's just teams are not getting it done against them. And then you got to credit that to Auburn. I mean, but no, Jani Broome, I feel like just has zero respect for his competitors. I think that's what it boils down to, and I don't like that whatsoever. I feel like no matter how good you are, you should always have respect for your competitors. And even if you're way better than them, okay, act like you're better. Like, there's no room for it. Him and what's his teammate's name? Is Baker Lazar or what's it?
Chad Baker Mazara.
Yeah, that guy. That dude, same exact thing. He'll make a shot and like stare down at the bench. I mean, he's always done it. And then we'll sit there and play victim when he gets called out for it and act like he didn't do anything wrong. Like, buddy, we all know what you're doing. Like, it's fine. I just hate the attitude at Auburn. Like, it's kind of unlike Bruce Pearl. I didn't think Bruce Pearl would allow that. I didn't, that's kind of surprising to me that he allows his team to act like that. But they're number one in the nation until somebody knocks them off, I guess. And kind of like Tennessee baseball, right? A couple of years ago, it's kind of, I don't want to sound double-sided here, but they were very much cocky, confident. I don't feel like what they did was necessarily toward their competitors, other than the bat flips and whatnot like that. And if you want to take that personal, that's fine. But I felt like that was more of like a hype and juicing up your bench more than it was actually like attacking the competitor themselves or staring down a pitcher when you're doing whatever. Like, I just feel like Auburn a little bit very much cocky, confident, which is a good thing in basketball, but still got to have respect for your competitors.
Yeah, I agree with you. Any other thoughts on Tennessee basketball before we move ahead to our football recap?
I'm looking forward to this. Something's got to give. We're tight on it.
Yeah.
Something's got to give. Let's see.
Here's what I will say about basketball.
Yeah.
I think you have to go at the very least 3-1 over this 4-game stretch. I think you can afford one loss here because you mentioned it. I think that the end of this schedule for the top 4 to 6 teams is going to take care of itself. And I think Tennessee probably has the easiest stretch of all those teams because they've played their gauntlet at the beginning of the SEC schedule. Everybody else is now getting into their gauntlet. So I think at the very least you go 3-1 and you can afford the solidly.
Loss. You can afford the loss, but the loss has to come to either Ole Miss or Alabama. You can't lose to LSU or South Carolina. There's no 100%. Shot. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with that. And the reason why you're afforded that loss is because I think A&M. Not that I'm counting that as a loss, but I think that makes up for your Kentucky loss. I think that especially both of them, but beating A&M on the road the way you did in a 1-game match, this, because you don't play an A&M twice this year, but like to go there to beat them, I think that makes up for one of the bad losses that you had. Not saying, like I said, it's not saying that it gives you one to give or anything like that, but like you said, people are about to start knocking off each other here in the final 2 weeks, so it kind of gives you some room to play with. It would be lovely to go 4-0, but it's kind of hard to ask a team to do that when you're playing 2 back-to-back ranked teams in Alabama and Ole Miss. That's going to be tough. We're going to find out a little bit about this team and how they finish out the year strong.
Yeah,
I still think they're going to get the double bye in the SEC tournament, though.
I think they will too. I think that's. I won't say locked up.
No, because if Ole Miss beats you, then that opens the door for you to be the 5 seed. So
yeah, but it's as close to a guarantee as you can get at this point.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
Let's do segment 3 sponsor and let's talk some football, man.
Yep, absolutely. Our segment 3 sponsor, it is Kaizen Painting. Do you want a colorful life? Kaizen is a painting and drywall company that provides residential, commercial, exterior, and interior services. At Kaizen Painting, we understand the importance of a beautifully painted home and properly installed and repaired drywall. We're here to bring your vision to life. We care about providing you with a personalized, efficient, and quality service. If you live in Knoxville and surroundings, contact us for a free estimate at kaizenpainting.com. Color your life the Kaizen ways. So we're down to the final 3 teams, which were the best 3 teams other than Tennessee. We're going to get to Tennessee next week.
On the road.
The final 3 teams, we're going to start off with Alabama.
And we know, oh, this is a great start. All right, dude. And we know that me and you picked the exact same for Tennessee. So, not the exact same. Our wins and losses, like as far as who they lost to, are a little bit different. But the record-wise, that's all we care about. So we know who's going to win at the end of this. So,
yep.
And I'm liking the start. We were tied going into this. Not anymore. I'm up by 1, baby. Yeah, man. I had Alabama losing 3 games. Got a lot of heat. On it in my video about this. I thought they were going to lose to Georgia, Tennessee, and I believe Auburn to finish the year. Couldn't have been more wrong on the Auburn one, but they lost to Oklahoma. And they lost to Vanderbilt. That's crazy. Anyway, so they were 9-3, and in a year where you beat Georgia.
That's the crazy thing.
In a year where you beat Georgia.
Look, this 2-week stretch right here, where you get arguably the biggest win in Kalen DeBoer's career as a head coach against Georgia, and you follow that up with a loss on the road to Vanderbilt in what's arguably his worst loss of his head coaching career. I mean, that just tells you the up and down type season that Alabama had, and you still finished 9-3. I mean, this season you start off 4-0, wins against Western Kentucky, South Florida, at Wisconsin, and then Georgia, in which you were thinking, okay, this Alabama team is for real. That Kalen DeBoer, he's the real deal. Then you drop the game to Vanderbilt. You should have lost to South Carolina. You lose to Tennessee. You shut out Missouri. You beat LSU convincingly. You beat Mercer. And then you have the game against Oklahoma.
And what was a terrible game. I do think they should have scored a touchdown. So if it makes Alabama fans feel any better, like, let's give them 10 points. But, like, you still got absolutely mollywopped.
It doesn't.
You got mollywopped on the road. It was a very much tradition. It was very much a traditional Josh Heupel on the road at night scenario once a year where you just absolutely no-showed. And you did it against Oklahoma, in which it hurt really bad because at that point you had the playoff.
Yeah.
You beat Oklahoma, you're 10-2, and you're in the playoff with two. Tennessee's a good loss, but losing to Vanderbilt, you still would have made the playoff. Just like Tennessee losing to Arkansas still made the playoff. So, that was a tough loss for Alabama.
Yeah, all you had to do was just win the ball game.
Yep.
And Oklahoma, credit to them, had a fantastic game plan
have a great defense
for that game. That was the key. All right, Jalen Milroe in that game only had 164 yards passing.
He had like 2 touchdowns to the defense.
The leading rusher for Alabama in that game was Miller, the running back, with 45 total yards.
But that was Alabama all year, man. They didn't have really much of a rush attack other than Milroe. Like, in the games where they won, and they won convincingly, Milroe would have 100 yards rushing, 150 yards rushing, multiple touchdowns, whatnot. So, Alabama's got to figure out how to not lean, which they're going to have to figure that out, which another reason why I don't think Alabama's going to be that good coming up next year is you look at, like, production lost. It may not be that much on the offense, as far as percentages, like as far as players, but like you look at like yardage production lost, you're losing like everything because Jalen Milroe was the yardage production of that team, and the weight he had to carry on his shoulders when he had a good game versus a bad game, it's kind of crazy. I'm really looking forward to seeing I think they have a true freshman coming in that's a real deal, or maybe he's a redshirt freshman, but they also have Ty Simpson there in the quarterback room. We'll see how the next year goes, but I do think Alabama, as much as I hate to say it, at 9-3, I think they take a step back next year.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've heard, Alabama's really high on Ty Simpson, which is crazy that
I think they're high on anybody that's not named Jalen Milroe.
I mean, that's a valid point.
Yeah, I think
valid point. But I mean, I've heard that they're really high on Ty Simpson, which is crazy that he was basically the third string when Nick Saban was there. But it's going to be fun to watch in the spring, that quarterback battle. You mentioned the incoming freshman that they have, and then Ty Simpson. Maybe they go to the transfer portal in the spring too. You never know. But my 2 losses this season that I had down for Alabama, it was Georgia and it was Tennessee. And that Georgia one, that was a crazy game in its own right. I mean, Alabama just absolutely dominated the first half of that game.
Georgia dominated the second half.
And they did,
up until the 17-year-old.
They did, but at the same time, I've never seen a team play so conservative like Alabama did in that second half. They were like, okay, we got a pretty big lead. Let's just try to shorten this game as much as we can. No way Georgia can come back. And lo and behold, they tie the game with 2 minutes left before the 80-yard pass down the sideline.
Which was, I'm not going to say it's luck, but that felt like an NCAA video game moment where you just chuck it deep to your best guy and he makes a hell of a play. I mean, you got to give him credit. But yeah, that was it's crazy to think Alabama in a year where they beat Georgia in the regular season still goes 9-3.
Yeah. Hey, did you know Ryan Williams is 17?
No, not anymore actually.
Oh, he is 18 now.
He's 18 now, man. No, it's but anyways, brother, no, this was I'd challenge the people that are listening. Go back to our prediction video of this game or of this team way back, probably 7 months ago, and look at the comments. Everybody pissed off of picking them to go 9-3.
I didn't even check out the comments. I'll have to go back.
Dude, go for it, man. Go for it. It's a good read. It's a good read, and I love it. Hindsight, because people give us hate, and we eat it when we're wrong, right? That's part of podcasting. But when we're right, it's funny how everybody's quiet. So I just like to challenge people to go back to that video and just look at some of the comments under there. Kalen DeBoer is going to be just fine. Yeah, he probably will be, but not this year. All right. What's the next team on the docket?
So the next thing, as I'm actively also looking up these comments. So the next team on the docket, it is Georgia. Even though they did win the SEC championship game, they finished second in the SEC regular season. They went 10-2 this year. Looks like Skylar has got a 2-game advantage now, as I did have Georgia go 12-0.
Let's go.
Skylar had 11-1. Now, I did say in this video that the reason I went 12-0 on this is Georgia's got to prove to me that they're not the best team in the nation, and they proved it to me this year. They absolutely did not look like the best team in the nation for most of the season. But I mean, still 10-2. You won the SEC championship, and you got knocked out in the first round of the college football playoffs, but you were in it.
Well, Carson Beck got hurt. Not saying that was the reason behind it, but it is what it is.
I'm glad to see. Well, actually, I'm not glad to see Carson Beck gone, because Carson Beck he was very much mid this year. He still put up good stats. And I guess when you look at it, the receivers for Georgia this year absolutely did not help him out whatsoever. The amount of drops that Georgia receivers had this year was just absolutely insane. But Carson Beck, didn't he have that stretch in the middle of the season where they played, 4 games, 5 games, and he had 11 interceptions, something like that?
He did not have a good patch there in the middle of the season. But look like an all-star against Tennessee. It's funny how that works. No, I think so. Georgia, I didn't nail this prediction. I was one off. I had them. I think I had them losing to. Alabama.
You had them losing to Ole Miss, because you had Ole Miss going undefeated.
That's right. Thank you. Yeah, that was. Dude, I had that, and I still. Oh yes, sir. All right, dude. All right. No, 11-1 though is what was my prediction, and I kind of thought they would go to the SEC championship. They ended up winning it. That was a great season for them, and what I would consider as a down year for Kirby Smart. 10-2. You've raised the bar when that ends up being a down year, but I didn't think they had a chance of going undefeated this year. I think their SEC run was just it was going to run out of juice at some point. I thought they were still going to be the team they needed to be, but to go undefeated for like the 3rd year in a row in SEC play, I thought was a little bit too much of an ask, and it was. It clearly showed that wasn't going to happen, and I think that's a little bit of a mix of the SEC growing, and also you lost your typical East opponents, I would say, right? You at that point you're just playing half the SEC basically. So no, overall still a good year. They made the playoff, obviously not what they wanted in the preseason, but no, I'm happy to beat you in this prediction. Wasn't perfect, but we beat you. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Obviously I had undefeated on this one. Georgia's 2 losses this year. We already mentioned that. Alabama loss, and then Skylar hit the nail on the head with the Ole Miss one. As he probably the only person to pick Ole Miss over Georgia in the preseason.
No, I wasn't. I know I wasn't, but I'll take it.
Hey, I give credit where credit is due.
Give me credit for that pick, and then keep giving me credit for the Florida pick. Or keep giving me that. I'll take it.
Look, I'll take it. Okay, I'll give you credit for that. But in fairness, did anybody see Florida State being as bad as they were?
I didn't see them being as bad as they were, but that's not what I asked. I picked Florida to beat Florida State. Nobody did that. There's no shot anybody did that. So I'll take that.
I'll give you credit for it.
I did take Ole Miss to beat Georgia. And look, to take that a step further, Ole Miss beating Georgia the way they beat Georgia was kind of wild.
Yeah, they dog walked.
Yeah, Georgia. Right on. Devin Hunt, man, we appreciate you being in the Facebook, brother. How you doing, brother? No, so yeah. 12-0, you missed a little bit. I'm okay with that. What's the last? Dude, I'm up by 2 right here. I'm feeling pretty good because I already told you that the top half of the SEC, I felt like I knocked out of the park. So I feel like you've kind of lost your. Well, I'll just let you put it up there. What do we got? It's Texas, right?
Yep.
And we both did the same thing. We both nailed this, by the way. But that's okay. We tied, which means we're going to tie again, which means your boy, undisputed champion of the year. I don't know what I won on this. I don't think we bet anything on it, but I won. That's all that matters. I just know that you're going to wear it on your sleeve now that you've lost everything.
Look, typical Vol fan here. We're coming back next year. Okay,
Next
we're
year's our
coming
year?
back next year.
No, I just can't wait to play our golf round, brother. I'm getting a free round, dude. Nothing better than free golf. Oh, I love it, dude. I love it. 11-1 overall. Yes, I had Texas. I think I had them actually beating Georgia to because I think I did have Ole Miss and Texas in the SEC championship. Maybe not. I can't remember.
I think we actually both had Texas losing to Georgia. I
That's
think we both hit this one spot on.
Yep.
Prediction wise and the loss, which was that Georgia game. We both kind of listened back before this started just to make sure what games we lost or what games we didn't predict correctly were. And you had said, I can see Texas A&M maybe pulling that game, but I can't pull the trigger on it.
No, not the preseason, and I'm glad I didn't. But I think I was spot on in that. I mean, the hype for that game at the end of the year was insane. A&M, I think, was still playing for an SEC championship spot. So, I mean, everything was on the table for A&M at home against Texas, big bro. All the hate from 2012 or whatever from when Ryan Tannehill was at A&M and they lost to Texas. Like, there was a lot to play for there. Unfortunately, couldn't get it done, but I'm okay with that. So that means me and you both have perfect predictions here, like the record and the loss, which means we both, I believe, had 2 perfect predictions on the year. You had, I think, Oklahoma, which no, you didn't get the losses right in Oklahoma, did you?
No,
but you had the record right.
Yeah, I had the record correct, but I did not have the losses correct.
So you had 1 perfect prediction then. I had 2 because I had Alabama. I didn't have the losses right though. Where was I thinking?
We
both only had 1 perfect.
Yeah. Now you had because we're including Tennessee next week. We both got the correct record on Tennessee.
Yep, but I'm talking full on perfect, which means we only got Texas right. It's pretty wild. The team that we didn't know as much about as far as following them because it was the first year in the SEC and we get perfect records.
Yeah. So you had
maybe that's alluding to how easy their schedule was.
Don't let Justin hear you say that.
Sorry. No,
you had a total of 3 perfect records, not perfect schedules, but perfect records. And I had 4 of them and still got beat to you.
You had 4 perfect records?
I picked Oklahoma correct. I picked somebody last week correct. And then
Texas A&M.
Yes, Texas A&M. And then Texas and Tennessee.
Yes, you're 100% right. I had stars next to them. So, yes, you had 4 total perfect records.
Yep.
I only had 3. That's unfortunate.
But I also had 2 4 spots where I was way off on the record. You only had 1 4 spot.
And both of those 4 spots for me and you came to USC Junior. So I think in our rankings, it's only fair to make Shane Beamer's got to be head coach of the year in our ranking.
Yeah, I think
because we expected less. Right. We expected less out of them than anybody. Because not only were we 4 off, we were 4 off in the negative. Like we thought they were going to be 4 worse than what they were. Yeah. So yeah, I think in our, I mean, and this is just taking our predictions from the preseason to now or the end of the year. We would both have to agree that Shane Beamer did the best from our expectations, and I think I agree with that. I think they went 9-3. I mean that's insane. We both
9-3, and we're on the doorstep of the college football playoffs.
Yeah, 100%. And I think they were a good enough team to make noise in the playoff. So I'll be honest with you, this was a year where I was actually okay not playing South Carolina. So no, right on. Sounds like a yes, sir. Texas all the way, says Devin. Yeah, whatever, dude. We don't need 2 Texas people up in here. No shot. We appreciate you being tuned in though on Facebook, man. We appreciate the love and the support. But
yeah,
I'll take it.
But before we mention just a little bit about baseball and softball, just want to ask you guys to please give us a like, share the show, and then give us a subscribe on the YouTube channel. It really helps us out. You never have to watch another video after this if you don't want to, but if you would give us a subscribe, it really helps us out as well. You don't even have to watch YouTube again if you don't want to. You can watch us on Facebook. You can watch us on
just
Twitter.
Download YouTube if you ain't got it. Subscribe to us. You don't get emails. It's completely free. It's fine. Just helps the channel. It just helps the channel.
Yeah. Like I said, you don't ever have to watch us again.
I mean, I'd like for you to watch us.
Yeah, I would too, but
it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. Move along.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll start off with softball as in the Mary Nutter Classic this past weekend. Lady Vols, they looked very good in this tournament. They ended up losing 2 games of the tournament. One of them a 1-0 walk-off victory for Oregon over Tennessee.
Good team, by the way, not just
Very good team.
Yeah,
and
they're-
Carlin Pickens had a fantastic game in which she tied the record for the fastest pitch ever thrown.
77 miles an hour.
And Skylar, do you know who she tied the record with?
I have no idea.
It is another Lady Vol for life. And when I say her name, you're going to know who it is. Monica Abbott.
Yep. I didn't realize she had the fastest pitch thrown. I didn't know that.
Yep.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Hey.
So now 2 Lady Vols hold the they hold the
I thought
the
you were gonna-
share.
Yeah, I thought you were going to tell me that it was like her own record from like 2 years ago. Because she threw it 2 years ago, was at 75, 76, and people were like, whoa, she's a freshman doing this. Yeah. So it's good to see her getting stronger though. I love that. 77 miles an hour, I think equates to like 104 in baseball.
Yeah,
Like, as far as like the distance and the speed and the timing of reaction for the batter, it's insane.
I mean that's literally like facing against Ben Joyce in baseball.
It would be a little bit faster. I mean, because you're Carlin Pickens, if I know her, she's throwing 77, and if she drops, she's throwing at 76. I mean, she is very consistent at that. But it's not like she just is throwing 73, 74, and then one pitch became 70. No. She's going to be consistent around that number the entire time. Ben Joyce, I'm not saying that to set, but like Ben Joyce would be, a 101, 102. He might get one up to 104, but I mean, for the most part, he's going to live, which is still insanely fast. I don't want to make it sound like it's not, but yeah, you're 100%. It's like a starter and Ben Joyce and facing that for 7 innings. Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. But the other loss for the Lady Vols against UCLA, a top 5 team.
No, I'm upset about that one.
Yeah, it was a tough game.
Good
Lady
team.
Vols drop 4-3 in that game, so 2 1-run losses. You absolutely played some very good ball out there. I know you run ruled Oregon State while you were out there. You run ruled Minnesota yesterday, I believe.
I love the competition they're playing, though, right? We've seen what it looks like when you go in and you just sweep the non-con, and then you get in conference play. It's a little bit tougher than you kind of thought it would. So I love the fact that they're going out there playing some of these really tough teams. I think it's going to play dividends when SEC starts. I think this team's going to be ready. They're going to be battle tested, and I think they're going to have a lot to play for.
Yep, you're absolutely right, and I give credit to Karen Weekly for that. They're always playing a tough non-conference to prepare them for that SEC slate, but I don't have their schedule pulled up right now to see what they do this week.
You want me to pull that up real quick while you word salad for a little bit?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about baseball, as they had an undefeated week this week as they played the midweek against UNC Asheville and won that game 29-4. Just an unbelievable barrage of runs in that game. It seemed like everybody was getting on base, everybody coming across the plate. I believe I heard 22 walks is what Tennessee drew in that game. Just insane what just the overpoweredness that Tennessee had against UNC Asheville. And then the weekend series against Samford, game 1, you win that game 5-1. Liam Doyle, man, he is an absolute dude through 5 1/3 innings. 5 1/3 innings.
Yep.
14 strikeouts, tying his career high. Just unbelievable effort out of that. The 1 run was a home run, and he came back and he was mad after giving up that home run. Struck out the side after that leadoff home run in the 3rd inning, I believe. Game 2, electric, man. Samford led for most of that game. It was 3-3 going in the bottom of the 8th inning, and then freshman Levi Clark. Remember that name? A no doubt grand slam to the 3rd row of the party deck
in a pinch hit situation.
Yeah,
I mean, just steps in, was off the bench, and gets it to full count, and just absolutely mollywops. And it was gone the moment you heard it off the bat. Even on TV, you heard it off the bat. And was like, yeah, that's gone. And man, I got to credit the fans that came out to the games. Man, it was a brutal weekend of baseball up until today. But back then, it's just cold. It was rainy, man. But credit to the fans and credit to the team. I mean, they're sending long balls now. I think that's
That was the
Is that the fourth Grand Slam of the
that was the fourth Grand Slam in
the first 2
6
weeks?
games.
Yeah, of the first 2 weeks basically of baseball season. It's insane. This team is I thought they would have taken a step back. They're kind of proving me wrong right now, but we're only 6 games in. But man, the bats are hot. Love to see it. And the clutch that's one of those early signs of the clutch gene that you got to have in baseball, right? I'm a firm believer you make your own luck, but at the end of the day, you still got to be clutch in baseball because even if you're undoubtedly the better team, something about baseball, you got to throw that pitch over the plate always. You can't run the clock out. You can't, you got to give the other team a chance. And sometimes in baseball, it may not fall your way. The bats might go cold or something like that, but overall. Levi Clark with the clutch gene, and you got to credit the team fighting against. Was that against Samford? That was against Samford, wasn't it?
Against Samford.
Samford's a solid team. I think they're going to be one of the best in their conference. I know it's not necessarily a big conference, but they're undoubtedly going to be in the tournament at the end of the year. So could be a team that we see again, believe it or not.
Yeah, it could be. And Levi Clark also with the quote of the weekend is he was asked after the game, why didn't you go to the pros directly out of high school?
Why not?
And he said, why would I? He said, Tennessee is the place to be right now. They develop you for the pros. Why would I not be at Tennessee?
I'm telling you. Tony V has this team kind of like a AAA team. You come here, you're able to off name, image, and likeness. You're probably making just as much, if not more money playing for the University of Tennessee. You're definitely going to have more fans in the stands than you would at a AA or a AAA game. You're going to have more fans in the stands. You're making a bigger name for yourself. And like he mentioned, I mean, you're ready to be MLB ready by the time you leave Tennessee rather than having to go through the draft ranks and whatnot and having to work your way up. I mean, I think he's spot on with that. I think it's a really cool response to hear that. And I think it's even cooler when I heard Tony Vitello say, like, look, we won the World Series last year, but in the room, you wouldn't know it. And that to me means more than anything. That shows that this team still has that drive and that hunger to go win another one because a lot of the kids that are playing on the team right now didn't win it. Yeah, as hard as that is to say it, I mean, yeah, you have some rotational pieces, but Dean Curley and Hunter Inslee. Thank you. Golly, I was blanking. I was about to say number 9. Those are about the 2 that were everyday starters for this team that went on to win it. I mean, every other 7 of them were either a rotational piece or a completely new face to this team that haven't won that World Series. So I am very, very intrigued on this team. Now, I did pull up the softball schedule coming up. Did you realize this is a final week before conference play for the softball game? Like just that quick.
Did not.
Just that quick. Yes. So we got in the midweek, we got Wednesday against Radford. And that the ladies are coming back home. That'll be a 5:00 Eastern game on Wednesday. And then this weekend we got Friday. Friday starts the Tennessee Invitational. So we're hosting a tournament here. Friday we have a doubleheader against Delaware State and Indiana State. That'll start at 3 p.m. Eastern, and the second game will follow immediately at 5:30. And then Saturday, it'll be against UT Martin, 12:30. And then based on those 3 games, those pool games will kind of determine who you're playing next. But you should be playing again in a doubleheader at 3 p.m. Eastern, and then playing a game possibly Sunday at 1:00 Eastern. But again, that's all tournament play based on those 3 teams that you're playing in the Tennessee Invitational. This weekend wraps up non-conference play before Georgia at Georgia next Friday, March the 7th. So this is the final week of non-conference in softball, man. Just that quick. Yeah. We're getting done. We're wrapping up Lady Vols basketball regular season, and we're getting into conference playing softball just like that.
Yeah, that's crazy. And Tennessee baseball today, they did get a run rule victory against Samford, 11-1 in 7 innings. This week, it's a big week for the baseball team, playing some quality competition. You got little midweek game against North Alabama at Lindsey Nelson on Tuesday before you travel out to Houston, Texas to play in the Astros Foundation College Classic. You're playing Oklahoma State on Friday against Rice on Saturday, and then Arizona on Sunday. And I'm not 100% sure, but I would say to be able to watch those games, the only way you're able to is to have a Flow Sports subscription. I believe that's how the softball team was this past weekend at the Mary Noter Classic. And I know the Astros Foundation Classic, they normally have something where it's like Fubo or Flow Sports, something like that. You have to have that sort of subscription to be able to watch those games. So Of course, you can listen to all of these games on the Tennessee Athletics app. John Wilkerson does a fantastic job. I mean, he's on his way to a Hall of Fame career. And then looks like it's a couple of weeks out before Tennessee baseball starts conference play, but it's right around the corner, man. Just about to get right into the heart of the season.
I was gonna say baseball and basketball kind of work the same way, where the ladies is about a week and a half, a little ahead of the men's. So, yeah, all right on, dude. Exciting stuff, man. This is I feel like and I was talking about this with my wife earlier, real quick. I feel like this is actually more of the time to be alive for like an athletic director, as far as how much is going on almost every day for the week. As far as you got basketball, men's and women's, you've got baseball, softball, all going on right now. You had the swim team. We didn't even mention that, by the way, where we broke a record in the swimming. I think it was a relay, maybe like I don't. It
was the 200-meter freestyle relay.
I was gonna say I didn't know if it was 200 or 400 meter, but I knew that they broke the record. Beat the crap out of them. It was pretty awesome to watch. Didn't watch it live, had to catch the replay, but it was pretty cool. I challenged myself to watch stuff that I wouldn't normally watch, especially when it comes to Tennessee, but that was pretty cool because, man, those athletes put in just as much time and effort as any other athlete on campus, and they don't necessarily get the fame that they should, especially in that scenario where they literally broke an NCAA record.
And last year we mentioned the Tennessee club hockey team.
Yep.
They're actually back in the Nationals again this year.
They're dominant. They're dominant. Yeah. And what's crazy about that team is it's like all self-funded. Like the university actually doesn't even fund that team. So it's pretty wild to think, but because of the Title IX rules. So, but no, man, I very much enjoyed this week. This has been one of the best weeks as far as everybody won. I mean, a softball team obviously took a loss, but they turned around and beat, I think, like Minnesota today. And then they had some good wins. Overall, just the basketball teams handled business. Baseball team did their thing. It's really good. And I would say a solid week on Rocky Top. When we're talking all four teams that are active right now could easily be top 15, top 10 in the nation. So very, very good week on Rocky Top.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we appreciate you all tuning in today. Once again, if you would please go and give us a like, give us a subscribe on the YouTube channel, share the video around. What'd you say?
I said, if you don't mind.
Yeah, if you don't mind. I mean, like Skylar always says, you're not going to get hounded with emails over stuff. It's literally just to help us out, to try to get our content out to more people. That's really all we want to do. We want to deliver our love of Tennessee sports out to more people.
That's right.
And y'all can help us by doing that. Just give us a subscribe on the YouTube. That helps us out the most. And then obviously share stuff on the Facebook and the Twitters as well. We do have a website as well, volfanatics.com.
That's right.
I have not done a great job recently of keeping up like articles and stuff. Going to try to do a better job of that as the spring season goes on. But check that out as well. Skylar, you got anything else before we close out today?
I'd like to officially add a new piece to the guy room, the studio here. So I just want to show you guys what we got going. Oh yeah.
Hey.
Yes, sir. It is signed by the DK. If they weren't going to hang it in the rafters, by God, I'm going to hang it in my rafters. So, yeah, it's fine with me. It was a pretty cool piece that I got. You also see the Dylan Dreiling jersey here. Thanks to the wife. She's awesome.
So here's the real question.
What's up?
How long before you have to buy a new house just for a bigger like studio space?
I didn't want this house because I knew this was going to get outgrown pretty quick.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. See, your boy pockets are just not that. I can barely fit my whole hand in my pocket. Like they got to get a little deeper before I can like actually really think about getting a bigger house. But might have to kick the dogs out of a bedroom and they can take over this room or something. I don't know. We'll figure something out.
Yeah.
But I'm already out of room. I've been out of room, man. There's absolutely no wall. I could paint my walls a completely different color and y'all wouldn't even know it. Like it is crazy up in here. But that's a good problem to have, man. As a Tennessee Vol fan, I'm a fanatic. It's the reason why we named the show what it is, and I mean, we go crazy for it, man. It's a good time to be alive, man. And I'm going to end the show on this, man. It's no better time to be a Vol fan, I think, in my opinion, through and through than right now. Now, obviously, we've won natties in football in the past and whatnot, but as far as just athletic department and college academics, everything is rocking on Rocky Top. I feel like this administration has a vision and a plan to execute it. I think the city's behind it, and I think there's no better time to be involved right now.
Yeah, I'm not gonna just go down a list and name a bunch of people, but I will shout out two people for sure: Chancellor Plowman and athletic director Danny White, and everybody else
Randy
in
Boyd.
administration.
I mean, everybody.
At Tennessee, they are all completely on the same page. And that makes for a healthy, not just athletic department, but academics department, just a healthy university. And there's no better place to be than Tennessee as a student, as a fan, as a player, no matter what. Tennessee is the place to be, and we're loving every minute of it, man.
Go Vols.
Yep. Go Big Orange, guys.